If you're watching this, it's because Enigma has finally rotated. She has hit Living Legend, and now you as a Verdance player are trying to figure out what you want to do with your deck. I wanted to go ahead and compile a list, something that maybe I would play in the upcoming ProQuest season. I will drop this whenever she rotates, so this is before week 1. I'm expecting her to hit it. If not, we'll release it when it happens. To compare it to what I played at my recent 1K, right? This is what I made the finals with. There was some considerations for Enigma, mainly in the form of Blue Summer's Fall down in the blue slot, and then also Summer's Fall and Weakest Link in the sideboard. The main reason to include these is you want to increase your popper density. Not that Enigma plays a ton of Phantasm attacks, but she plays enough with the assumption that they're going to be above rate because there are very few poppers in the format. We even saw that at the Pro Tour, increasing the density of Phantasm attacks. And so you get a lot of equity if you're ever able to pop them, but they all have relevant effects, right? Summer's Fall bottoms the auras, and Weakest Link if she is holding a chi that she plans to transcend, or is, holding something like a mirror guy, you're kind of forced into a different play pattern, and maybe it's a little bit inefficient. Of course, we talked about playing Summer's Fall into Aurora, mainly to brick their CLV or to hit their embodiments. I think that there is an argument that you could literally play this exact same list because we saw Prism do very well, and I would expect Prism's representation to mainly stay the same because I think Enigma was one of her bad matchups, whereas Aurora I think was a very good matchup. And so all these cards are still very good in Prism, right? Summer's Fall, because they're probably going to play some amount of auras into you. This is a popper, but also this allows you to keep the pressure on her because she has 32 health, and this deck is fairly good with its current configuration of Denying Soul. You have a high density of poppers, you have defense reactions, and so you're able to keep her off of Soul pretty well. And then you're also able to clear auras if she ever sets them up. And Weakest Link is really good because every single card that is not a Herald in the deck is hit by this. So that's the conclusion I came to, which is if you want to run this exact same list, it's totally viable. But I think that there is a consideration you have to make, which is the reintroduction of New. I think New has been gatekept a bit by Enigma, and I do expect her representation to go up. And I think that in its current form, we have a bad matchup that could be slightly dialed in. The biggest change here is just replacing the blue Summer's Fall with blue So Tomorrow. This lets you recycle Fellings in the end game. That's probably all you're going to use it for. You can find some other use case scenario for it. If you're going to play against the CYB New, that's going to try to disrupt your HPOT combo, and you're able at the end of the game, in addition to the Evergreens, if you're able to recycle Fellings and then get up to 6 copies or 7 with Plume, if that's what you end up needing to use Plume for, right? If they disrupt your HPOT combo too much, you're perfectly fine right here. We can see our new sideboard. We're going up to 3 Evergreens, additional popper into Prism, but this way you're able to have one of these, either banished from hand or from arsenal, and you're still able to try to loop in the end game. So just a little bit more protection. We're also adding an E-Pot as well as Tunic in this matchup. Having the E-Pot in the Tunic means that you're able to be disrupted, and then you're still able, even down 1 card from that play, and like the very late game, using the Tunic and the E-Pot, you're able to generate 3 resources to go use Plume. And so that way you're able to still combo through disruption. And then we're playing a bunch of D-Reacts and kind of just bringing an overall pile. Your game plan into her is to play for the HPOT combo, but not expecting it to work out because she has a lot of ways she can disrupt it, mainly Siren's Call. She does play CYB as well, so she's able to keep herself pretty healthy out of that range, but your main goal is to chip her down as hard as you can, play for the HPOT combo, and then if that doesn't work, you have the fallback of looping Evergreens or sending up to 6 copies or 7 copies of Felling with your Sotomaros. And the hope is that eventually she will hit her chi stack, and if you're just sending Evergreens over and over again and her turn is just sending Mistblade and using Mass to just slowly rip all the cards from your deck. Now at some point you eventually catch up with her just due to how much damage this presents, especially if you're also able to recycle 3 copies of Felling. And that is our game plan into New. The only other change here, right, is we cut our Weakest Links and we cut our Summer's Falls, and that facilitated the E-Pot, the Tunic. We were able to add an extra copy of Evergreen, But then the biggest change here is going to be the copies of Aetherrise. So while we lost Summer's Fall for Aurora, we gained potentially one of the best cards we could play into her. And so if we want to take a look at our Aurora matchup here, we are playing a bunch of D-Reacts. We need to be able to block 4 as much as we can. And we're playing the rest of our good cards, but we're also adding Aetherrise in. So specifically, the reason to play Aetherrise is the more, I think, face-up one, which is that you're able to counter the CLV. The more innocuous one is if they meld both halves of Burn Up and Shock, you're able to counter it, and because it doesn't resolve, they don't resolve the go again. So you will catch some Aurora players off guard, and you will time walk them with 1 card. You could run Tunic, so you don't even have to pitch to it, but we're very rarely ever going to convert 4 cards, so I think it's perfectly reasonable just to pitch, play this, and then play your 3-card hand. You will catch some Aurora players off guard. Ones that are experienced or get blown out to the first one can play differently around the second one, although playing this is still perfectly fine to answer Channel Lightning Valley. You're still perfectly fine with that exchange. We will come back to this, right? If this is actually working well or not. Like, this is something I will be testing and then coming back to with a future list. The biggest thing is that I expect Aurora to LL during the ProQuest season, in which case we have to completely overhaul the deck because there will be a completely new meta that we have to deal with. And to spoil a little bit of it, we can look down into our maybe board. Fertile Ground is just an alternative to HPOT, but once we are talking about post-Aurora, we're going to talk about Remembrance and Pyroglyphic, but that is for another day. If you're looking for something to play now that Enigma is left, once again, you can run the exact same list if you're expecting Prisms and you just like how these feel into the Misfail heroes as well as Prism and Aurora, go for it. If you want something more specific, you might want to look at something like this, but that's just all for your consideration. Until next time, thank you for watching.